Hello, welcome. This is our first of two lectures on the last part of our time on the Hindu traditions. We'll talk about philosophical schools and holidays and contemporary movements. So let me share my screen with you and we'll get started. I hope we're doing well. Okay, so let's go right here. Hindu traditions, cool. Sweet. So to get started on the Hindu traditions, in terms of where we're going to be heading in this particular lecture, we're going to talk about Shankara and the Vedanta tradition. And then just going to touch quickly on some things, the sacred word Om, a little bit on food, on bindis, and then in the second lecture, we'll also do Hindu holidays in this lecture. We'll break it up into two. In the second lecture, we'll do Tantra, we will do yoga, and we will talk about the significance of Swami Vivekananda. All right, so cool. Let's get started right now. So, all right. So there's six schools of philosophy in the Hindu traditions. The most prominent school of the different philosophical schools is Vedanta. Means Vedanta means the end of the Vedas. And so this is the leading school, philosophical school within the Hindu traditions. It's a system of thought that interprets the Upanishads, which we've talked about in a previous lecture. Upanishads being philosophical texts, philosophically slanted sacred texts that become a part of the Vedas. In addition to the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, which we've talked about previously, and the Brahma Sutras, which are 500 short sayings or aphorisms on the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita, are all these texts together are brought into conversation and interpreted and are foundational for this leading school of um, Hindu philosophy, the Vedanta school. The Vedanta school itself was popularized by Shankara. Shankara taught, and Shankara dates from about 800 Common Era. Shankara taught, Shankara, Shankara, oh my gosh, Shankara. Oh, geez. Okay, sorry. Shankara taught reality is non-dual. Advaita. And only the only reality is the Brahman. The Brahman being the ineffable God above everything, that's without attributes. Shankara also taught that Maya or illusion, it causes belief in a difference between the Brahman, but when that illusion is dispelled, the Atman is liberated by realization of its nature, realization that the Atman itself is the Brahman, right? It's the Brahman, that these two are in unity together. There is no difference between the two. The Atman within us is and connected to the Brahman God above all the other deities and avatars that are a part of the Hindu tradition. So liberation is a removal of this illusion of difference, that there's something different between you and I. There's the surface things, the cultural things, and there's the identities that we wear and perform and so forth that create that illusion of difference. But when it comes down to it, in reality, we're the same. We're both contain the Atman, a soul, and our souls are dependent and connected to the Brahman, the God above it all. And so, recognizing that, that is a way of liberation. We've talked about the three ways of liberation. One of the ways is Nana knowledge. And so, this removal of Maya, the removal of this illusion, it creates space and the possibility for transformative knowledge or Nana knowledge. So, liberation may be achieved while embodied in the present form in order to help others also achieve liberation. Ultimately, moksha is the term for liberation, is the ideal that one has um, no need to go back onto samsara, the cycle of life and death, another reincarnated life, and can be united ultimately back with the source of all, the Brahman, the God is above everything and within everything. So this is a classic saying from the Upanishads, from the Hindu philosophical tradition. It's a classic ideal, I should say, that the Brahman, that God, the transcendent God, the ultimate God, and the Atman or soul, they're the same. They're the same. It's like the Atman is like a drop of water into the ocean, the vast ocean, which is the Brahman. And when that occurs, when the drop gets immersed in complete unison with the Brahman, it becomes indistinguishable from it, right? There's no more distinction between the two. And that's the ultimate goal. That's where liberation is at. This the maxim from the Upanishads, here translated into English for us. A well-known maxim is you are that. You are that. You are that. You and I, we are the same at our core, because at our core is the Atman, which is connected to the Brahman. So this is a classic teaching within the Vedanta philosophical tradition, the most dominant or central philosophical tradition within the Hindu tradition. So moving onwards from Shankara and Shankara's teachings, which are part and parcel, part of the Vedanta tradition. Just going to touch on a few things with you. One is on Om. Om is chanted. Om is chanted at the beginning and at the end of Hindu prayers and recitations of scripture. Shankara teaches that the three sounds, A, U, have the following experiential meanings. The A is the world we see when awake, whereas the U is the dream world. Then finally, there's the which is the sleep world, the sleeper, and sleep experience. There's a fourth unspoken syllable, which is liberation. So Om is believed to be this creative, powerful sound that goes back to the beginning of creation. It goes back to the beginning of things. So it's a sacred sound. It's a sound that begins and ends prayer, an important sound in the Hindu tradition. Just quickly touching on a few things as we wrap up our time on the Hindu traditions, Murtis and Bhakti. We've talked about Bhakti throughout our time on the Hindu traditions. Bhakti are devotion. Murtis participate in the devotional life of Hindus. Murtis are God in form. God in form. Murtis receive attention, devotion, such as ritual baths. They're adorned. They're shown are shown in hospitality with music and dance. It's understood that the deity and the devotee that they see one another through the invoking and dismissing of the deity which inhabits the murtis. So Murtis means like stuff. And generally, Murtis, we see, like, for example, we have this Murtis here in our slide of Ganesha, right? They get crafted in certain ways. But there's stories of Hindus taking like clumps of dirt, for example, when you're, maybe up on the mountain, we could imagine. And you could take conceivably, you could take a pile of dirt and you could form it into some just type of shape, and you could invoke a deity. And then the deity, through that invocation, could come and inhabit that dirt, and then that dirt become a focal point of devotion, of bhakti for the given moment. Then, when you dismiss the deity, then the murtis, the pile of dirt you have formed, it becomes meaningless again in terms of being a place of devotion, right? And so, just different ways, right, that one could. It's a way of recognizing the presence of the deity that goes beyond, say, the temple. So a presence of a deity in the temple does not detract from a presence of the deity in heaven. There's this eminence in the world which is present in the human soul within our Atman. Just some images of Murtis. Our sculptures, this particular sculpture is of the Hindu god Shiva, who we've talked about. Shiva, along with Vishnu, are the two most prominent gods in terms of receiving devotion, receiving love in the Hindu tradition. And then there's Parvati, the consort, and then Ganesha. Ganesha is another popular Hindu god who receives a significant amount of devotion. So the importance of murtis, here we see murtis being carried in a procession, for example, another murtis of Ganesha in Mumbai, India. So again, the deity is complete in whole, no matter how many forms are manifested of the deity. The deity remains complete in whole. Here you have a murtis of Ganesha being painted. And here you have others working. Murtis are, again, the fully present deities. And in some ways, murtis are seen as analogs of Vishnu's incarnations. Recall with me, we reviewed Vishnu's incarnations. We talked about some of the 9 carnations, most significantly Rama from the Ramayana, and Krishna, the charioteer from the Bhagavad Gita. What else? So again, this is it's a significant image. It's a powerful image where here we're seeing a Hindu devotee giving bhakti to a murtis of Ganesha. You can see you can kind of sense the emotion. You can sense the heart within this action here. Here you have, whispering a wish into the ear of the deity Ganesha. Just a couple more images, different murtis. Here you have Lakshmi Murti as well, being sold in shops. So moving on beyond murti. So murti is a significant part of the Hindu way of life, Hindu culture, and are significant in terms of devotion, and creating opportunities for devotion, for bhakti. Just a brief notes on the forehead marks, the bindis. Bindis, in terms of their significance and their meaning, it varies. It varies. Bindis could simply be a fashion statement, or it could have deeper spiritual significance. It also depends on gender, marital status, one's sect, or the specific occasion, or one's varna could play a factor in determining the significance or the meaning of wearing a bindi. The devotees of Vishnu, Krishna, and Lakshmi wear vertical marks, and worshippers of Shiva and Parvati wear horizontal or kind of crescent marks of ash with a red dot. A combination of dots and crescents usually indicates allegiance to the goddess, the mother goddess Devi. And so there's some points of significance, there's some things that can be recognized and serve as identity markers by wearing different types of bindis. So here you have a holy man wearing a bindi on a forehead, right? That's significant and identifies the particular holy man with a particular sect or particular tradition and a particular devotion. So here you have devotees of Shiva and Parvati. Shiva being alongside Vishnu, one of the most popular deities of the Hindu tradition. Shiva, who is represented either in ecstatic dance or in this kind of calm, like yogic kind of posturing pose. It's this Shiva and Parvati, the cohort of Shiva. Devotees of Shiva and Parvati wear horizontal or slightly curved crescent marks on their foreheads. So beyond cosmetic, married women wear bindis as a status symbol of sorts, of their role in society. Moving on beyond bindis, just doing a quick touching points here. The meaning of food in Hindu traditions. The Hindu tradition is like other religious traditions, honestly, has a lot to say about food, and in some ways is preoccupied with food. What kind, where, when, how is it prepared? Who prepares it, who is it offered to first, who may get the leftovers. All these type of questions are addressed within the Hindu tradition in relationship to food. Some foods are believed to be good foods or pure foods, such as you might anticipate, vegetables. Vegetables give off like spiritual inclinations, whereas meat, poultry, and onions are believed to give rise to the passions and action. Then still food that's gone bad, or liquor encourages slothfulness. So food is an important dimension within the Hindu tradition as well. Most Hindus are not vegetarians. Sometimes I believe there's this ideal that the majority are. However, the Brahmins or the priestly Varna generally are vegetarians. Strict vegetarian diet cultivates spiritual calmness or spiritual tranquility. Food reflects nature, such as purity, energy, and inertia. Liberation can be attained simply by observing the right kinds of fast within some Hindu traditions as well. So the importance of food, we see the importance of food across religious traditions in different ways and also in interrelated ways. Just briefly on some holidays. Navaratri, meaning 9 nights, begins on a new moon between September 15th and October 14th, and is celebrated all over India in different ways and for different reasons. The goddess Durga is celebrated during a Durga Puja, a worship for Durga, during the holiday of Navaratri. Diwali, very well known and popular Indian holiday. Diwali is the festival of lights. Families all over the world decorate their houses with lights, set off firecrackers, and wear new clothing. The festival of lights is Diwali. In some parts of India, Diwali or Deepavali, it marks the beginning of the new year. So some of these holidays have slightly different meanings depending on what part of India we are discussing. Here we have a family, lighting an oil lamp, celebrating Diwali, the festival of lights at their home. Probably the most significant in some ways, or maybe the most popular Indian holiday is Holi. Holi, a North Indian festival that's celebrated in March or April with bonfires to enact the destruction of evil, and the exuberant throwing of colored powder to symbolize the vibrant colors of spring. The Hindu holiday of Holi, as explained by children. Here's a video. I'm not going to play it, but if you're interested, it's in the keynote. If I was in class with you, I would play it. It's kind of fun. You get some perspective from children. It's a short video. It's a few minutes long. It's children, it's Hindu children talking about Holi from their perspective. So if you're interested, maybe I would suggest that video. Also, here's another video that's interesting. This is a video about Holi being celebrated in Los Angeles, California. It's a little bit longer, not too long. I think it's like 5 minutes, but also it gives you a sense of an appreciation of Holi, being celebrated within the context of the United States. Holi commemorates, again, Holi has different meanings depending on the location and the people, but Holi, generally speaking, commemorates Vishnu's incarnation as a man lion and as Krishna. So Krishna, going back to the Bhagavad Gita, um, gets commemorated in this holiday of color and vibrant colors. Holi's popular. It's one of these holidays that's popular beyond the confines of the Hindu tradition. I don't know, perhaps Christmas in some ways is this type of holiday, right? It's celebrated beyond perhaps, the Christian tradition itself. Holi is a very popular holiday. It's a holiday that people participate in, like throughout the world. You see different groups and people beyond people who identify as Hindus participating in this given holiday. It's fun, right? There's food, there's colors, there's celebrations involved with Holi. So here we have, looks to be at a concert, perhaps, right? Holi being incorporated within a festivity, potentially looks to be a concert in Bulgaria in 2017. Tantra, let's leave it here. We'll pick up. I'm gonna break this up. So we covered the first half of the final keynote on the Hindu tradition. We'll come back. We'll talk about Tantra and a few other key moments of the contemporary Hindu tradition to wrap our time up together on the Hindu tradition. All right, be well, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care.